Take Care of Your Body by Rye with your host, Rylan Rosano. Mind your mind. Let's talk, listen, and heal together. Stay tuned to see what's next.
I hope you're smiling because it's me, Rye. Today, my guest is
Marilisa Lawless.
And what do you do?
Sometimes it's hard to say what I don't do, or easier to say what I don't do. I am a marriage and family therapist who specializes in treating trauma.
Okay.
I have been doing this well over 30 years, so over the course of those years, I've also educated myself. I'm a master's level. Besides being a licensed marriage and family therapist, I'm also a master's level certified addictions professional. Then also I am a hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist. I am a Reiki master, which is a form of Japanese energy healing.
Okay.
And I am an herbalist because I believe in using some natural things.
That is so cool. Everyone listening, now you know what degrees you need to go get and certifications because she's a girl boss. So I know you just mentioned that you are a mental health counselor. So you specialize in trauma therapy. I think something me and my viewers want to know is, what would you tell someone who's struggling with the current state of our world?
Take a breath. At the end of the day, just take a deep breath.
Yes.
One of the things that I didn't even mention, one of the things that I do for myself is I do silent retreats.
Okay.
I go to and attend silent retreat, week long in the woods with a mentor and a group of people, but it's silent. And that place of mindfulness and silence is truly healing. It helps with anxiety. It helps with sleep. It helps with so many different pieces as a base.
That's
so
amazing.
When somebody is feeling really ramped up, stop and take 3 deep breaths.
That is absolutely amazing. And I feel like it's healing because it's so quiet. You can kind of tune out the noise of the world.
Well, I don't know that it's about tuning out the noise of the world. It's just about noticing it and not grabbing a hold of it.
You can kind of be more zen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what coping mechanisms would you share? If you could give a few for anyone listening, struggling with maybe coping with anxiety, depression, PTSD, what are your go-to coping mechanisms?
Well, the post-traumatic stress is like an overlying, it's an umbrella for a lot of different things because anxiety is a part of it, depression can be a part of it, physical pain can be a part of it. There's so many different components to post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
And at this point, most people are suffering on some level from post-trauma, whether it's from what's happened in the past few years or from earlier in their own lives. It could be as a result of anything. So with post-traumatic stress, at its core, the basics of eat right and exercise, that really does do a lot for, across the board for a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
And people don't always, it really is that simple, even though it's that challenging. Because our food quality is not great. So really trying to find the foods that work best for you and your body, and everybody's different.
I couldn't agree more.
Some people are really strong about you have to do it this way or do it this way. You know what? Figure out what works best for you.
It's individualized.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's really pay attention to your body. Pay
Absolutely.
attention to what's going on.
I couldn't have said it better myself. What do you gravitate towards nutrition-wise?
Probably for me, I try to do organic. I try to just eat the fruit that I grow in my backyard.
That's amazing.
Seldom that I buy anything. I follow basically a plant-based diet, but I will also do fish on occasion. So I do pescatarian, I guess would be the label that I attach to myself. And I gave up meat not for any health reasons. I gave up meat because I was raising these animals and I realized they had like these personalities and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So you do you, but
Absolutely.
For me, that's where I am. And everybody's different.
Everybody is different. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that it's helped with your own mental health and, maybe the challenges that you face, or would you recommend that kind of diet to anyone struggling with their own mental health issues?
Again, I think that people have to learn to listen to their own bodies.
Absolutely.
I know that there are some basics that we know are really, that we've been told over and over. Too much red meat is just not good for the body. Pork, the other white meat, sometimes is also not good it's just not good for the body.
Yep.
you have to be able to listen to what your body needs.
Absolutely.
And really that comes down to paying attention. And that's what we don't do. We don't pay attention. Often, by the time we are paying attention, it is at a crisis. And we end up at a doctor, and the doctor gives you a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Then the pharmaceuticals have side effects. Then they're giving you another pharmaceutical to take care of the side effects from that pharmaceutical, and the list goes on and on.
It's a whole process.
Yeah. So my wish for each individual is that they start paying attention again. The simplest of tasks is take 3 deep breaths and just check in with yourself and say, literally talk to yourself and say, what do I need to do for me today?
Absolutely. I love that. And I feel like when you notice how things make you feel, you kind of are able to go through your day better and kind of cognitively think about that throughout your entire day, which is amazing.
Absolutely. You know, it is. It's very challenging, but once we get used to it, it's a lot easier. It's like meditation.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people meditation is super, super simple. Oh, I can't meditate. And in reality, everyone can. People have been mistaught on what meditation is. They think that their mind's going to be a blank slate. No, your mind is going to go like in 5 seconds, like, oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, what am I having for lunch? You know, and the whole goal is to just come back to your breath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything truly just connects back to the breath. Whether it's anxiety, depression, depression, get outside in the sun. Put your shoulders back and your face up.
Yep, absolutely.
Face up in the sun.
Get some sunlight and some, good energy, and just you'll feel so much better, I'm sure. So, what I want to talk about is, I know there are 5 stages of grief and healing, and I'm pretty sure they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Do you want to touch on those?
That's a mouthful.
Absolutely.
So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, when she wrote that book, she's actually talked about it. It wasn't meant as 5 stages of death. Right? She actually meant it as something else, but most people understand those stages as something, and they're not linear.
Yeah.
It could be one day I feel like I'm pretty okay with the losses I've had in my life, because death and dying isn't necessarily about a person.
Absolutely.
It could be a relationship. It could be
something coming to an end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And that the denial is, I really just, life is just better if I just think about it this way, and deny that it's even an issue.
Right.
The bargaining, the if onlys.
Right.
It can be very complicated. It's not really that complicated. Again, taking care of yourself.
Yep.
Focusing on what it is you need as an individual.
Yep.
And learning to ask for help.
Absolutely.
When you can learn to ask, to say, I feel really sad and I could use a hug.
Yep. I
feel really angry. I think I'm going to go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a walk around the lake is an expression for dealing with anger.
Absolutely.
They're all human emotions. They're all natural. They're all normal. We all do it.
Right. People aren't punching bags. We can't treat them like that. And no matter what we're dealing with inside, we can't take that out on others. So I love that you mentioned that. And I feel like taking a walk would be so much better than screaming at someone or taking it out on someone else. Because that affects everybody.
Absolutely. When you see road rage.
Right.
When you see somebody cut you off.
Especially in Florida.
Angry,
Miami,
Instead of getting angry, to just say, oh, okay, you're in a hurry. Go ahead.
Right. Maybe we need to think maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe something's going on in their life, because I feel like everyone is dealing with something that we don't know behind closed doors, whether they share it or not, or they look like they're dealing with something or not. There's so many things, from invisible illnesses to invisible mental illnesses. I think smiling depression is real. I think you could know the happiest person and they could be really sad and really going through it, and I think that's something that I want to talk about in a little bit. But something that you said that I want to touch on is, how do you ask for help? What would you tell somebody who maybe they're not shy, maybe they're shy, or maybe they're not someone that wants to feel comfortable to talk to their parents or talk to anybody and be like, I'm struggling, I need help? What would you say to that person or those people in the world?
If people are not comfortable asking for help, know what hotline numbers are. Like 988. It's a national hotline for suicide.
Yep.
Help, when you're thinking about it, when you're feeling it. Broward County actually has 211, which is the same as 988. And there's all kinds of recorded things. There's actually live people. There's live counselors there. People are often willing to ask strangers for help before they ask their family.
That's so sad.
It is, and
Really.
every family culture is different. So it's about what is most comfortable for you.
Absolutely.
The suffering in silence has never been beneficial for anyone.
Yeah.
And yet people do it. So being able to reach out in an anonymous way to one of these hotlines is an option.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and again, it's something that's available 24/7, because that's another piece. They don't want to disturb anybody. It's the middle of the night and they're woke up, they've woken and they've had these, they're having a nightmare. They need somebody to talk to. These numbers, there's somebody there 24/7.
That's amazing. And
it's a live person.
It's kind of like a first responder in a way for your mental health. Because
absolutely.
I feel like we often think about, like medical professionals always being there, but we need the same with mental health professionals, because mental illness is real, and unfortunately a lot of people struggle with it, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, and we need more awareness on it, for sure.
Well, part of the awareness comes with understanding that the brain is part of the body. It is a medical issue.
Yes.
It's not just a mental health issue.
Absolutely.
Because our mental health, the way we think, the way that we feel, impacts our physical health.
I was just going to ask you that. You read my mind. So you believe that maybe if we're struggling with like a chronic illness, or, a chronic illness and a mental illness, that it can manifest into physical pain.
Oh, absolutely.
I love that you said that.
Without any doubt at all. They used to complain that people were hypochondriacs, or everything is psychosomatic. Well, we do know that there is a psychological component for every illness.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a physical illness or a mental illness, there's components. If you don't pay attention to your body, the messages get louder and louder. And that's how cancer happens. That's how other illnesses. Fibromyalgia is a really good one.
I've heard a lot about
to
that.
look at, because it's a pain disorder without any specific known etiology.
Right. No.
There isn't any. It's like, where did this come from?
Right.
And there is an energetic connection. There's a mental health connection. We're all connected.
Absolutely. I've done some research on like chronic fatigue syndrome, and that is one that you can't treat, and there's no known cause of why you get it. And that is something that I've realized a lot of people have anxiety, because of course if you can't get rid of something, or if it's going to be with you forever and you don't really know where it's coming from, and you feel tired all the time, and it causes a lot of that, like what you were saying, a lot of the mental health components of it. And I love that you touched on that, because it's something that a lot of people need to know. It's okay to have these feelings, especially if you have, a chronic illness. Grieving is real when you can't do something that you were used to be able to do. And I think it's about giving yourself grace instead of comparing yourself to other people, or to, other versions of yourself. So I love that you touched on that, because it's so important. Physical pain and mental illness is a component of one another. And it's so important.
They're related.
They are related.
Yeah.
So it's just so important. So what I did want to talk about, like I mentioned a little bit ago, is smiling depression. How do you know if someone that might appear to be okay from an outsider's view, if they're struggling?
Well, it depends on how close you want to get, and what do you really want to know. Because some people will say, hey, how you doing? And they really don't want to know.
Like when you're in the grocery store.
Right. And then people that are willing to say, well, I'm, hey, how you doing? And then all of a sudden you get your life story. Right. It's like, there's a balance in there.
Yeah, I agree.
So it is about knowing that you're trying. What I tell people is try to get the inside and the outside to match.
Absolutely.
So when you are with someone that you know or that you care about, to say, really, how are you doing? And many people use that mask, that smile. Oh, it's a really common thing, especially for women. Wow. We're taught that we're supposed to be polite and nice and ladies. Yep. Not just women, because women, it's the full spectrum.
Absolutely.
Happy, sad, glad, mad, scared.
We're hormonal.
Well, no, no, it's not. It gets a bad rap,
True.
Because men also have the same hormones.
No, absolutely.
And get the same rundown there.
Something I can't stand is when people are like, oh, maybe she's on her, on her period. Maybe I'm just sad, maybe.
Absolutely.
We have something that we have going on in our lives that is stressing us out. And
Yeah, and it's not just that.
Right.
It's understanding that medically we do have hormone fluctuations.
Absolutely.
As human beings. It has nothing to
Absolutely.
do with gender.
Absolutely. Nothing to do with gender.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have a bad day.
Absolutely.
So it is about being able to look at those pieces as
Absolutely.
well. So the smiling depression, and there's people that are anxiously depressed as
Yeah,
well.
no.
You know, they have to stay busy,
Right.
because
Busy,
they know
busy.
if they stop, they're going to cry or they're going to have,
Right.
you know, like just collapse.
Distract
So
themselves.
it's about having someone in your life that's actually able to call you on it. Say,
amazing.
really, what's happening? You know,
Yeah.
I know you got a lot going on. Why you have a smile on your face?
Absolutely. Have that therapist friend. Does that come with the couch? You know, I mean,
Yeah, it does. It happens. But it's more about how real are you willing to be?
right.
And I like a therapeutic tool that I
Absolutely.
do with people is to say, and I always mess this up. This was something we used to laugh about with my mom and my sister, who were
Aw.
also therapists. My mom was.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we
The-
all went to
the
school
genes
together.
are strong.
All of that. Yeah, they are.
Smart
but
girls.
Inside I feel, outside I look.
I love that.
Fill in the blank. Inside I look,
Outside.
or inside I feel. See,
Inside
I
I
told you I mess it up all the time. So it really is about giving just two feeling words.
Yeah.
And do they match? And if they don't match, how do you create that congruence?
Yeah.
You know, so that's all it's about, is trying to be congruent so that when you're in a safe enough place that you can let the mask fall and be real.
I love that. And it's okay to cry. Because I
Oh,
feel like
absolutely.
that is something that, you know, no matter the gender, I feel like we struggle a lot as a society to understand that men also have mental health struggles.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, just because, you know, maybe women are more okay to feel like it's okay to cry and be upset and be sad, men can feel that same way too. It's okay for men to cry. It's okay for every single human being to process their emotions. And we all process them differently. And I think that's something I would love your perspective on.
Okay, so girls, studies that were done with girls that
Yes.
and their emotions and
Yeah.
and owning who they are.
Yeah.
They took a group of girls, age 9, put them all together and said, "We're going to get pizza. What do you want on your pizza?" They all had opinions. They all said, "Oh, I want this. I want mushroom. I want pepperoni," whatever it was at the time. Bring the same group of girls together at age 11, and at age 11 said to them, "We're going to get pizza. What do you want?" "Well, I want mushroom, but what do you want?" Same group of girls
Wow.
together again at age 13 and said, "We're going to get pizza. What do you want on yours?" "I don't know. What do you want?" was the most common response. So
Like,
this was a
wow.
study that was done on girls. So they realized that by the time girls hit adolescence, they really lost their identity.
Wow.
Same study done with men. Terrence Real did research on men and how they function emotionally. And his expression is they have lost, they have learned the code of silence before they can read it. And what that meant is that most boys between the ages of 3 and 5 have lost their ability to have a full range of emotions.
Wow.
That silence, that the only thing that was ever really socially acceptable for boys was to be angry. By the age of 5,
Wow.
you know. And the research that's been done with men, they've all thanked the women's movement. They've thanked
That's
all the
amazing.
research that's happened before them.
Yeah.
But in the 1990s, they started doing research on men and men's mental health.
So important.
And when boys are taught to not have their feelings, think about it. A skinned knee. You're okay. You're okay. Get up.
Get a
Just
Band-Aid.
rub it off. You know, go. You're good. You know, that doesn't hurt.
No. Yeah.
Think about how many times parents say that to boys.
That's so sad.
So
I'm
they're
like
learning.
gonna cry.
No.
That's wow.
Yeah. So yes, mental health is important for all people.
Absolutely. Everybody has a brain. Everybody has mental health.
Yep.
It's a part of it. You're
Yeah,
so right.
and we're trying to keep people from being mentally ill.
Absolutely.
You know, so mental health is absolutely
So important.
something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why you should listen to this podcast, because it's just so important. Not to plug myself in or anything, but this human being that I'm sitting with is amazing, and I think you should go find her and listen to her, because just hearing her talk impacts me, and I don't know. I just love her so much, and I appreciate her. So she's
thank
so
you.
smart, and check her out, everyone. She's amazing. And I think that's why after that little plug-in, I'm going to flow naturally. Like, I just totally didn't, give you the best little tidbit of who you are. I feel like that is why the coping mechanisms that you mentioned are so important, because for people to know, okay, before I get to a stage where I am mentally ill, I need to try and do these things. And I love that you threw that in there.
Mental health is really important.
Period.
But yeah.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation.
At this point. So something I want to talk about that I have learned is with social media, I've learned it's kind of like rolling the dice. You never know when you get on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or now X, what you're going to see. It could be negative, it could be positive. What can individuals do to separate themselves from the online atmosphere and make sure it's not negatively impacting them mental health wise?
Most of the time, it's just really limit your time looking at it.
Absolutely.
And start to only put out positive stuff yourself.
Right.
So important. The more positive we put out, the more positive we get back.
I love that.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. Because social media is going to be what social media is. And it is, people use it for many different reasons. There are people that put their lives out there, good, bad, and ugly. There are people that put all of their family stuff out there. There's people that put all kinds of things out there that really may be better off being private.
Being private.
You know, it's not a secret, but private. And everyone's entitled to privacy.
I love that. And I feel like something that I do, I don't know if you know this or not, but I do these things called reminders. Mm-hmm. My name is Rylan, so if you didn't know that. So what I do is I try and share like a quote or a positive message that impacted me, because I want to try and impact somebody else, and you never know who could see that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like my little positive spark to share on social media. So I think just doing something like that, it doesn't have to be a quote or a positive message, but just kind of sharing something that's real and, you know, remaining private, but just sharing like, hey, you know what, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay if you're struggling because, you know, I'm going through this or that. You don't have to give your life story, but it's okay to share a little bit about who you are, because I feel like somebody else can see that and can be like, wow, I'm not alone in my feelings, and someone else can see me and they feel me and I'm loved and I'm appreciated.
Right. And I have, and I listen to them, I've read them and I like them.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And yeah, I like all the things that you do with your recipes and everything else.
She's my biggest fan, guys. Mm-hmm. She's amazing. I'm in her shop right now, and I think people should come and check it out. You can throw the address in there at the end, but
okay, sure.
It's amazing. I want all the crystals, and I came in here and I'm like, wow, it smells so good. It's so calming. What she does is amazing. So I have to give her a plug any chance I can. I'm just so honored and lucky to know such an intelligent, inspirational woman that can teach me as a young woman how to grow and develop into my own person, and can teach me how to manage anything, because I feel like mental health is a part of everything, like we've mentioned, and just learning how to manage it is key.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So one of the things that I do that's probably a parallel to what you do is my Heart and Soul Connections, which is another page that I have on Facebook.
Check it out.
And I just put things that are just positive and motivational.
I love that.
You know, I have the Transformation Project page, and I have that on Instagram and on TikTok. I mean, I've got that everywhere, but that's specifically about mental health, and it may be positive, it may be just a cry for help, it may be something that I put out there that's specifically mental health.
I love that.
The Heart and Soul Connection is just motivational, so it's a different.
It ties in together.
Yeah, they are very similar. You know, and then I have the Crystals del Sol, and I have Hemp del Sol, because the CBD is also an important aspect of what I do as an alternative to medication. So the social media piece, it's truly what you create.
Right.
You end up attracting what you create.
We're artists, basically. Mm-hmm.
You know, so whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Instagram or X or any of those, or Threads, or it's truly put out the positive and you'll get more back.
Absolutely.
And you'll start to not notice the negative so much. Right. It won't have such an impact, because you'll be able to just say, okay, well, they're not in a place where I want to be right now.
And it's okay to hit unfollow. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what I find interesting on social media?
What?
One of the things, so they give you these birthday reminders.
Right.
And I don't know everybody that's on my social media feed. And so I actually will go to the person's profile.
Yeah.
And what I found most interesting is that probably once a month, the person died. Wow. And I'm looking at all these happy birthday wishes.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're not paying attention.
No.
You know, so even if it's somebody that I don't know very well, but they followed me, but if they have already transitioned, and I'm like, wow. I just find it interesting that so few people pay attention to people that they don't know.
that's crazy, and we compare ourselves to these people, and we don't even know half of their stories.
I know.
We see the outside, and we're like, wow, I want to be them, I want to be like them, they have all of this, but
Right. And like when you had the teacher that died,
Right.
I was looking and
Right.
what do you know about her, and how
Right.
connected are you to her?
Yeah.
And other people doing birthday wishes to people that have already passed
away.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I mean, I want your perspective on this, but I feel like it's kind of like something goes off in our brains. We see these notifications, and we're like, oh, it's blank's birthday, you know? And we don't go and view their profile and check out how they're doing, because I feel like that's the beauty of social media. We can connect, and we can see how relatives are doing, or friends that, you know, maybe we don't know that well, but we care about, and that's beautiful. But I feel like if we don't catch up with these people, they could have died, like you said, and that's crazy.
And or they haven't been on social media in 3 years.
Right.
Their last post was in 2021.
Right.
Why are people still every year just wishing? Because I'll sometimes see that it's a whole feed.
Right. It's a whole feed
of happy birthdays for the past 3 years.
But like, where's the person?
Yes.
Why does no one wonder?
Yeah.
So what do you think it is that goes off in our brains when we see these notifications on Facebook or on Instagram or on our phones, and we're like, oh my gosh, I have to look right now, and I have to see what they're commenting, or what, you know, what this person is doing. I need to catch up with them right now.
No, everything in this culture has promoted the instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And a level of maturity has always been to the ability to delay gratification.
Yeah.
So set a timer. Put your phone away. And this is young and old. This is
No,
not an age
absolutely.
thing, because I watch people in their 70s who can't leave their phone at the door.
Or they're interested in these reels, and they just keep going
and
or
going.
TikTok, and
Absolutely.
it's like you're scrolling for 3 hours when you could be
And you're
creating.
like, "Oh,
you could be
wait."
reading, you know? There's so many other things. Your brain needs a break.
Yeah,
So.
I'm reading an amazing book right
Ooh,
now.
what are you
It's really
reading?
caught my attention. Braiding Sweetgrass.
Oh, I'm gonna have to read that.
Yeah, she's an amazing scientist.
That
She's
is
an eco-environmentalist,
amazing.
A botanist.
That's
and
amazing.
just bringing in the spiritual connection and the Native American connections. It's a beautiful book.
I love that so much.
You know,
You've
so
recommended
reading a
me
book.
so many amazing books, and I love all of them because they kind of go into what you do: mind, body, spirit, soul, all of that.
Absolutely.
And that those are the kind of books I like to read. And just because I like those books doesn't mean anyone listening is going to, but you know, it can help someone. And you know, reading is a powerful tool.
Yes.
And I mean, it can be a negative tool, but it's all about what we're reading, like you mentioned.
Right. And for mental health, for post-traumatic stress, I tell everyone to get The Body Keeps the Score.
I just finished that one.
Yay.
I've reread it. I've took quotes from it. It's so inspiring. It's so impactful. And I remember the first time I met you, we talked about it because of a lot of the stuff they talk about with nutrition, wellness, mental health. It's all connected. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's so important.
Yeah.
And all of that. So you should check her out because she's amazing. And I'm going to keep saying that, but she is. And we need people like her. We need more people like her in this world. So if you know anyone that is struggling with mental health, and maybe they're not listening to this, but remind them it's okay to get help. It's okay to find a trusted individual in their life and let them know, hey, it's okay. You can cry. You can be upset. We all feel these feelings. So absolutely.
Awesome.
Something that I wanted to talk about is what is a way to process grief? I know we mentioned, you know, the Facebook thing and how people have passed away and it still says that it's their birthday and kind of that component. So what happens if you see that maybe this person passed away and it was someone that you were, you know, somewhat close with, or, you know, maybe you cared about them
Someone
a
that I
lot.
knew.
Right, someone that you knew. That still impacts you because it's like, wow, how do you process grief? What do you do? What do you tell people to do? What is the best outlet for people who are struggling with that?
Talk about it.
I love that.
That's the easiest thing, is to be able to talk about it with someone that actually will listen.
Absolutely.
We have stopped being a society that listens.
Right.
So others get upset because, oh my God, they're saying the same thing over and over again. Well, that's because they didn't feel heard.
Right. Words on their mind, you know?
Yeah.
That's
So
important.
create a space. Ask, set a boundary.
Yeah.
When you're calling a friend, hey, I need 6 minutes of your time.
Right.
Do you have it?
It's a
and the
two-way
friend has the
combo.
opportunity
Right.
to say, no, I don't, but you know what? I can talk like in an hour. Give me a call back then.
I love that.
Boundaries.
I love that so
Set
much.
it, no matter what the healing process is, being able to set a boundary. Grief doesn't have to be, if it's somebody that's passed, somebody that impacts you, take note.
Yeah.
And then when you have the space, when you have the time, sit, take a couple of deep breaths. Again, go back to the 3 deep breaths and say, okay, how do I feel about this?
Absolutely. And I feel like breathing is something that a lot of people, we just do it. It's an involuntary thing.
It is, but seldom do people do any deep breathing.
Absolutely.
Pulling air into the lower lobes of the lungs.
Absolutely.
When we get pneumonia, it's in the lower lobes. When we get any kind of, usually like lung cancer, the lower lobes. We don't exercise them enough. We don't pull it in through the diaphragm and really do deep breathing.
So I think thinking about it, like, hey, you know what? I need to breathe. I mean, of course, we all are breathing, hopefully, but we really need to think about breathing and think about taking time to just breathe and be like, you know what, maybe this is worrying me, but it's not going on right now. Why do I need to think about it? Breathe, let it out.
Yeah.
What flows, what goes. You know what I'm saying?
True. The other thing that I do for dealing with grief or with stress is that I will take my shoes off. I don't like the cold weather because I have to wear shoes.
I don't blame you.
I'm a barefoot girl.
I love that.
And
you connect
I go out
so
and
much.
I go stand in the sand. I stand in the grass. I stand on ground.
That's amazing.
And just ground to myself.
Literally.
I do it often here. I'll go out and I'll stand in the grass, or I'll just go stand outside and put my face in the sun.
That's amazing.
Just something to let my body know that I am still, I'm still moving forward, still feeling grounded and encouraging myself to be grounded.
And we're alive. It's always a good reminder because you never know. We just need to know that we're still on this earth and we impact people no matter what we do, who we are, every day. So that is just so amazing. And I love that you threw that in there. I'm also a barefoot girly. I love taking my shoes off. I love putting my feet in grass and in nature and just kind of connecting, because it's like you're literally thinking about being in grass and you're like, I'm grounded. I'm actually grounded. I'm in nature. I'm connecting to nature. And that's just one of the easiest things someone can do. We all have feet. We can just go and take our shoes off and just really be present where we are. Yeah. It's so beautiful.
And when I don't have time for that, just standing still and listening to the birds.
Because so
even though there's traffic, I can find the song. I can find the bird song and just let that fill me.
Yeah, I love that so much. Something that I want to kind of touch on, because it kind of goes with what you just said. What are some natural remedies people can gravitate towards too if they're struggling with their mental health?
Oh, well, we have recommended often the CBD for the past 5 or 6 years now that it's been a thing. We've done a lot of research, and it's a natural anti-inflammatory, natural anti-anxiety, so it works on a lot of different levels, helps people sleep. Seems, I'm not, most of the things that I see are anecdotal. I'm not allowed to say this, or not allowed to say that, but I say them anyway, and just give it as a caveat that it's not meant to diagnose or treat any specific disorder, but it seems to help a lot of people.
A great holistic approach.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the holistic approach across the board, flowers, I use lavender a lot for treating anxiety. I tell people, take some lavender oil, put it on a cotton ball, put it in a little Ziploc bag. Yeah. Carry it in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Whenever you're feeling anxious, open the bag and take a couple of whiffs of the lavender. The other thing is to put some in your car. We have so much anxiety driving these days, and people are just not paying attention.
Tell me about it.
So some lavender in your car. Again, little Ziploc bag with a cotton ball. So yes, the essential oils, we have different ones that we carry here for pain, for relaxing, for anxiety. The crystals, a lot of different crystals, and crystals you purchase crystals based on what you're attracted to.
Absolutely.
It's not about what somebody tells you should get unless it's something that really sings to you.
Right.
So it's truly about listening.
Absolutely.
Grass. I tell people that live in condos, this is one of the things I recommend for clients who live in condos, go get like a concrete mixing flat, get 2 squares of sod, put it on the balcony of their condo, and every day go outside, water a little bit, but go outside and stand in the grass.
Yeah.
So, and people that live upstairs and they
DIY.
can't get...
Do it yourself,
Absolutely. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
There's so many alternatives. Meditation,
yoga.
Yes, and there's many different types of yoga.
And you don't have to be flexible to do yoga. No. And I think that's something that I've found out as a yoga instructor. A lot of people are like, I'm not flexible. I don't know
you
how
don't have to be.
Right, you don't have to be. You can sit on the ground and just meditate. Sit in child's pose. Sit in...
Right.
Really,
well, yoga is a form of meditation.
Right,
People don't understand that. It's just a different spiritual background.
Absolutely.
You know, but the Buddhists did the mindfulness meditation and the chanting and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yoga was about breath and connection to the body. And that was a Hindu-based thing that started. I mean, it's certainly been Americanized and all these other things that have been brought into it. But there are many different forms of self-care.
Yep.
I tell people, go to a functional medicine doctor. Go get, look at the vitamins. Use your blood work to figure out what vitamins do you need, what foods do you need to focus on.
So important.
There's so many different avenues. I use acupuncture, or I recommend acupuncture. I have several people that I recommend for it. Chiropractic care.
Yeah.
Get into a chiropractor. Get your spine in order.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the things I recommend, I've done them all.
Absolutely. So you know that it won't really, if you are preaching it, it's something that you trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I love that because you've experienced them and you're giving the best information to your patients, and I love that so much.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I have one patient in particular who would say, "You're an intelligent, articulate, well-spoken woman. Why are you recommending this woo-woo stuff?" And I think it's funny, and then they go and they do the woo-woo stuff, and they're like, I'm not even going to say I hate admitting this. It worked.
And it's so, I don't know if you've ever done any research on ASMR, but I just love hearing, cracking noises. It's just so calming. And it's something that I've done research on, and I know it helps with anxiety and ASMR, and all of those techniques are so beautiful. And it's kind of like a physical thing, but also a mental thing when you go and get aligned or you go and get acupuncture done. I've never had that done, but you know what? There's always a first time for everything.
Absolutely. When you think about acupuncture, just to even plug that for a second, acupuncture is not, alternative medicine. It's traditional medicine for the majority of the world.
That's so interesting. Wow.
It's acupuncture and herbalism is the majority. We are the minority. Wow. We in this country are practicing medicine.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe I'm going to have to go try it out. I love trying new things. So
Good.
Anything you recommend me, I will go and check out. And when I say that, I mean it. So that is something so cool. So when you touched on the lavender thing, two things that I have a question for you. Have you ever had a lavender latte?
I have.
What do you think about them?
I like lavender. I like it as a tea.
Because it's different as, smelling it and consuming it. Have you noticed any of the
I haven't noticed any major
or?
Difference, no. But it's I drink a lavender tea at night.
Yeah.
So I have lavender flower that I put into a tea bag.
It's amazing.
But yeah, everybody's body is different.
Absolutely.
I do better with the lavender than I do chamomile.
Yeah.
So it's
individualized. Absolutely. I love lavender.
And there's a lot of studies that they've done with lavender itself to show that it is equally, not a little bit less, not a little more, equally effective as tranquilizers. For anxiety.
So important. That is something that we need to get out there because it's something so natural. We can go purchase a lavender plant or some herbs.
Well, it's hard to grow here in Florida. There is a few to grow here, but it is still challenging.
Yeah, but so important.
But I make lavender candles. I sell lavender oil. I bottle it. I buy it by the gallon from an organic plant.
So important. And it's something that you have access to because lavender's everywhere.
Yeah,
we can go find it. Put it in Google. We all are on Google trying to figure out what's wrong with us. We can be helpful to ourselves.
Right, and be careful with Amazon when you're buying things that you're getting a product that's actually the product.
Absolutely.
So buy from
not like a knockoff version of it.
It's right.
High quality.
Look for the little mark on Amazon, even that says small business owned.
Absolutely, I love that.
So even those,
Have you seen any of those essential oil bracelets where you rub the
the lavender beads? I sell them.
You do. That's awesome. I love those so much. I'll
and I have a roll-on, a CBD roll-on. That I have one that is lavender and bergamot.
That's so cool.
And the other one is peppermint and rosemary.
I love that.
And you roll them onto the lavender beads.
It's like perfume. You smell it. You smell it all day, and you'll smell good, and it helps so much. I love to smell mine. I wear it all the time, and it's just so healing.
Yes.
It kind of reminds you that you're present, and you are a person. You're not just your thoughts or your feelings. You do exist because you can smell something so potent and so natural. And
Yes.
I think that's beautiful. So
Absolutely.
that is just something that I wanted to touch on, because that is something that I've noticed that helps for me. So if it can help for one person, that is all that matters. And I love that you mentioned that. Something that I want to talk about is I had someone reach out to me about mental health, specifically post-traumatic stress disorder, and they wanted to know how can they cope after receiving a diagnosis, such as anxiety or post-traumatic stress or depression. What can you do? How can you process being told that you have these mental health struggles?
All right. So you knew you had the struggles before you got the diagnosis. The diagnosis is really for the insurance companies. Don't let a diagnosis dictate how you think or feel, because you're already struggling.
Yeah.
All it is meant to be is a tool to give you direction on what you need to do for healing.
I love that.
That's it. Diagnoses are for insurance companies.
Wow.
And when you hear a diagnosis, you understand that, oh, that's what I have. That's what's going on with me.
Right.
Okay. It gives you a direction. Okay,
Absolutely.
now, all right. So I got diagnosed with depression. Well, that helps make, that makes me wanting to be in bed 20 hours a day make sense.
Right.
Why I want all the lights out, why I don't want to bother with anybody. I mean, it's just basically saying, okay, this is the diagnosis based on everything that you're living.
Yeah.
And okay, go try something now.
Absolutely.
So all it does, that label, it's already just describing. It's not defining.
We're
it's
not
describing
our
what it is
mental
that's
health
going on.
issues.
No.
We're not a label. We're
No,
people.
the label just gives you an opportunity to
Right.
go forward and say, okay, well, let me try this.
Some-
Well, you
some
should try
coping.
medication. Well, you know what? No, let me try these other things. Now that I've actually gotten an answer on what it is that's going on with me,
Right.
go find something natural
You can
first.
find the process of healing and managing it, which is beautiful. And I think not letting our mental health struggles define us, because we're not our mental health struggles. We're people that have them. I think that's really a good perspective to have. And that's something I like to preach to anyone I talk to. So important.
Absolutely. And to remember that every diagnosis is just so that a provider can get paid.
Yep. Absolutely.
I try not to give people, I mean, if somebody asks me what I would diagnose them with, I'll tell them, but I generally don't. It's not usually a topic of conversation. It's not usually a topic. So they don't really need to know. If they want to know, sure, but I'm going to be working on, you need to do this holistically for yourself. Try this. Let's keep talking.
Yeah. That's so important. And I love that so much. Thank you so much for what you do. Because I don't know if people have ever told you this, but you're amazing. And you help so many different people. And it's so amazing to know that there are people like you out there that do want to help people, especially kids, adults, anyone struggling. We are not our problems. That is so important to know. And I love that you do that so much. So thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Something that I did not plan talking about, but I do want to throw in there is, you know how there are different kinds of anxieties. We have social anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. What would you say to someone who might know someone with social anxiety, but they have generalized anxiety and they're kind of doing that comparison that we were talking about? What would you throw in there for them to not compare themselves to maybe someone who has anxiety that's a little different from them, but they can still relate on a level of, them both having anxiety?
At its core, we're all connected.
Absolutely.
So that's truly what it is. When I find a connection with someone, whether it's a positive symptom or a negative symptom, because there's positive things that we do in our life and we connect with other people, but oftentimes we overlook that.
Yeah.
So it truly is about finding the positive and realizing that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And again, diagnoses are just to help you manage symptoms.
Yes.
Start to look at what's at the core. Why is it that what I have is so similar to what you have? What are our common experiences?
That's beautiful.
What is it that keeps us as human beings connected and moving forward? And that's all it really is how are we all connected?
That's so important. And I feel like you can make a lot of friendships based off of that level of connection.
Of course.
I think everything happens for a reason, and people come into our lives to help us, or, a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
All the quotes.
All the quotes, had to throw them in there. I believe in that. I feel like we as people have the opportunity to help each other with what we're going through. Everyone is going through something. And I think when we help each other instead of hurt each other, I think that's beautiful. Because at the end of the day, we all have that one person that we feel comfortable with, or hopefully have that one person. And I think it's just so special to know that we really can be there for one another. And when we say, how are you? We really mean it. We really want to hear how someone is doing. And I think kind of letting someone know that what we say about them and what we, say, we mean. When we ask how they're doing, we mean it. Or when we ask, how's life going? We mean it. And I know that we have friends that might be like, oh, we're always here for you. But when it comes to listening to our problems, they kind of, I don't want to say they don't care, but it's kind of like that side of their brains turned off a little bit. It's hard to connect on that emotional level.
Right.
And it's so important to know that there are people that do care about you and that do want to hear about that. And what would you say to someone who might have that friend that's like, I'm always here for you, but when you kind of open up to them, they can't kind of connect on that level or really be there for you in the way you need them?
Well, it truly is about growing.
Yeah.
And when you grow, you will outgrow some people in your life.
I love that.
And it is just about figuring out, is there reciprocity in the relationship?
Yeah.
Is this person really somebody that's also able to give? Like, I have 2 women that I've been friends with for over 30 years. And if one of us is having like a really awful time, we'll call and go, blah, and we'll just say everything we need to say. And yet the response after the venting is, and how are you?
I love that. It's
so
like,
that
two
opportunity.
Conversation.
Yes, it's an actual dialogue. Even though I may call and say, oh my gosh, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
and vent, there's always that second piece. It's not just I'm dumping,
Right.
like a dine and dash conversation,
I think it's unfair to give so much of ourselves to people and them not give anything in return.
Absolutely.
It's unfair to us. It's unfair to them.
Well, it's not just that. It's about knowing what your limits are and knowing who you really want to be part of your tribe.
Right. I mean, we're like plants. We outgrow pots, Mm-hmm. Why would we want to stay in a pot that stunts our growth?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
We need sun. We need water, And I think of that physically too with nutrition. I think like humans are plants. We need to take care of our needs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not meant to be household plants and stay inside all the time. And I think it's something that you can relate to with mental health as well.
Yeah.
We need to grow
Good
as
analogies.
people.
Yeah.
You know what? Have to be a little bit of a poet, But that's beautiful. And I think just friendships and mental health is something so important. And knowing that people are truly there for you. They care about you. And no matter what you're going through, they see you so much more than all your struggles. And I think to have someone like that, that's beautiful. And you should hang on to them. They're a good friend.
And to add as a second component to that is that
can't wait.
I'm able to be there for them.
Absolutely.
That it is reciprocal, that it goes
so amazing.
both ways.
Goes both
that it's
ways.
not just a give, and you take, but it's a give and take.
Yep.
That we're actually able to be there for each other.
Friendship is the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, I think that's something people should look into and really notice how people make them feel.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I think something that is really amazing to think about is a therapist has a therapist. I feel like that is not something a lot of people really think. With teachers, it's hard to think, oh, wow, my teacher has a life outside of teaching. Or, my favorite person is not just, they're not just my favorite person. They have a life. They have their own struggles. And I think when we think about that, it's so special because it kind of connects us all, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually tell clients that when they're looking, or tell anybody when they're looking for a therapist, if I'm not it, that's fine too.
But you're cool.
When you're looking,
you're a cool therapist to have.
If they're looking for a therapist, make sure the therapist has had their own therapy.
Yeah.
Ask that question. Yeah. And if the therapist that you're looking for says, oh, no, or that's private or that's personal or whatever, then they're not the right fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find someone that's done their work.
Right.
I've done my work. That's what makes me good at what I'm doing.
I love that so much. What got you into being a therapist?
Oh, having my own struggle with post-traumatic stress, my own trauma, and being in therapy.
That is so
And I had been in therapy for years and was working with a therapist at one point. I was home on maternity leave. And she's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go back to working at the phone company, which is where I was?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I really like what you do.
That's so
And her response to me is, I think you'd be really good at it.
Aww.
And that's all it took. I finished up my bachelor's and I went right back to school, finished up my bachelor's and went right on to graduate school, and it was amazing and awesome, and I've never looked back.
That's so cool. And I think that when one person believes in us, that's the biggest push ever, because it's like, you see me so much more than where I am right now. You see all this potential for me. And to have someone in your life like that, that's beautiful.
And I had always been that person since I was a little girl. I've been Mother Marilisa.
Aww.
You know, I've been the mother to everybody since I was a kid.
The mom friend.
Yep. No, I was the mom in my family, you know. I had a mom who was depressed. So I was jumping in as a kid, being the oldest, to take care of, and that was just a really comfortable and familiar role for me.
I love that.
You know, whether it's from past lifetimes or what,
Right.
but it's, you know, and to understand at some level that I am and have been a healing presence for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was friends that were struggling or whatnot through high school and, you know, wherever. I mean, it's just always been a part of who I am.
That is so beautiful, and I love that so much. Your own journey inspired you to change the lives of others, and that's so amazing to think, because anyone listening with their own mental health issues, they can become a therapist for somebody else, and you just taught them that.
Yeah, because therapists without their own therapy aren't often very helpful, but people will find their way.
Yeah. And I think it's impactful when maybe you don't struggle with your own mental health issues, but someone you love does, and you're like, wow, I'm really interested into this. I want to help, you know, this relative or friend of mine, and I want to be able to impact people because I see how much this person is struggling. I think that's beautiful. You maybe it's not a personal experience. Maybe it's something that you watch and you connect to on a level, and I think that's so special.
Absolutely.
Talking with you has been so much fun. Before we wrap this up, I want you to give maybe one piece of advice to anyone listening to this with maybe mental health issues, something they're going through. What is one thing you would want to tell somebody right now if they walked in? No pressure.
Take a breath.
Absolutely.
That's always my first go-to. I'll say that to clients: you're not breathing. Take a breath. I'll just say,
get the oxygen.
What I say is, breathe.
I love that so much.
Breathe. And you're right, that metaphor with the oxygen masks. I work with a lot of flight attendants and pilots too, so that metaphor that's perfect, you know?
Right, we all need it. I mean,
your mask first.
Absolutely. That's so special. You know, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Nope.
We have to take care of ourselves to take care of others, and that's truly something that I feel like as a society we need to learn.
Yeah. So,
so
my parting word would be breathe.
Breathe. Thank you so much for joining me today and for being on my podcast. It's all about taking care of your body and realizing that when you take care of your body, it's so much more than just in a physical sense.
Yes, indeed.
It's been a pleasure. Everyone, check out her shop. Drop the address right now.
4431 Davie Road. I'm right in downtown Davie, right by the rodeo grounds. Been here over 30 years, but people are like, oh, you've been here that long? I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm right on Davie Road. My sister and I were here. We try to tell people to call us first when they're first-time visitors, because we like to talk to people and figure out what is it that you really are looking for.
I love that. You're able to connect with them before you even meet them in person, which is amazing.
Yeah. You know, so I tell people, I'll give you my phone number, 954-854-1039. I tell people, text me, say, hey, I'd like to come in. And it's not for therapy, it's just to be able to look at the CBD, the crystals, the other things that we have in the store that they're looking for.
Absolutely. All these techniques for healing, that's so special.
And that no one's rushed to make a decision or a choice.
No pressure.
No.
It's a natural thing, which is beautiful. Everything is natural in here. And if you need a character reference, Rylan recommends. I walked in here and I'm like, wow, I could sit in here all day. Do some yoga, you know, get a coffee, make a coffee, look at all these crystals. I want everything, you know. It's really a healing and amazing place. I'm so lucky to have in my town and be near and just have access to. And if you don't live in Davie and you're visiting Florida, I recommend come check out Davie, come check out this amazing place and get in touch with your inner self and your outer self.
Yeah, and they can look at my websites, and it's, either Hemp Del Sol, SOUL, because it's from the soul.com, or Crystals Del Sol, SOUL.com, or thetransformationproject.net. I've got a bunch of websites. We ship everywhere in the U.S. too, so, that's always a helpful thing.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again for taking the time to talk to me about such important topics. It has meant so much. I really appreciate you, and I'm so honored to know you. And I'm glad that I got your story out there with the world, because it's not just my story, it's not just your story, it's our story. And that's really beautiful when you think about that.
Yes.
We are all connected. So thank you so much. And if anyone has a story that they want to tell, or knows anyone that has a story that they might want to tell, feel free to email me at recipesbyry@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. With so much love, Rye.